What's going on, everyone? Welcome in to another episode of Luttie's Look Back. My name is Nick Luttrell. We're taking a look back at the weekend that it was in Arkansas sports. On this episode, we'll talk a lot of baseball, college baseball. We'll hint at high school baseball towards the end of the show and show you the upcoming high school baseball state championship games, as well as softball, girls soccer, and boys soccer. But we'll start my show how we always do, with my three big things from the big thing from the weekend, and that was Arkansas's series win on the road to close out the regular season at Kentucky. Thursday, a 4-3 loss. Friday, a 5-4 win. And then Saturday, as always, a crazy Game 3 that it typically is for Arkansas this season, a 16-12 win. But nonetheless, a series win for Arkansas on the road at Kentucky. You see my three things behind me. You probably already looked and read it and cheated and everything. I'm going to read them to you real quickly, and then I'll go through them each individually. My first big thing, Thursday's loss, it was concerning. It was a little bit concerning, and it kind of surprised me, I'll be honest. That's big point number one. Big point number two, pitching. They got their starters. They got their closer. They got Hunter Dietz. They got Ethan McIlvain. They got Gabe Gackle. They've got Ethan McIlvain, but they don't. The in-between guys is where Arkansas struggles. They don't have that reliever that they need. The pitching is an issue for this Arkansas team. We'll talk about that. And then finally, my third big thing is more positive. I think this team can still make a run. I think they can absolutely make a run in the postseason, and maybe even win it all. Maybe. Let's circle back to my first big thing. We'll talk specifically about some of these games before we get to big picture, before we talk about, we'll hear from Dave Van Horn. We'll look at the SEC bracket. We'll talk Arkansas softball. We'll hear from Courtney Deifel. We'll talk some other college baseball from around the state. But let's talk about my three big things. The first one was Thursday's loss. Arkansas, Kentucky facing off. Razorbacks getting the series win. Thursday, they lost 4-3. And pitching was fine. I mean, there was just multiple things that just didn't go right for Arkansas to lose this game against a Kentucky team that's a bubble team to make the NCAA tournament. The first thing is I'll knock on the pitching real quick, and then I'll get out of that because that wasn't the issue on Thursday. Hunter Dietz was good in this game. He wasn't terrific. And he's had it at times this season where he just starts out slow. He starts out shaky, not just shaky like walk three batters in a row. He just, for whatever reason, teams just jump out on him. And that's what Kentucky did in this game. I think they started out up 3-0, I think, in the first inning. And then Dietz recovered from that. He struck out like 9 guys and made it through 6 innings. I mean, he was terrific after that, but that was a shaky start. And that ended up costing Arkansas for sure. But still, your pitching only gives up 4 runs. Your hitting should provide for you a lot more than Arkansas did on Thursday night, especially for Kentucky's go-to Game 1 starter to only last 3 innings. It's funny because their go-to Game 1 starter was pulled after 3 innings, and he gave up no runs. He was throwing a no-hitter. Now, he already gave up a run, but he had no hits. He had a no-hitter going. He gave up a run because there was maybe a hit by pitch, a stolen base, a pass ball, a wild pitch for Arkansas to score their first run. So Arkansas had their first run kind of handed to them. Arkansas scored only 3 runs. One of them was handed to them. The other 2 they earned, but they only had 4 hits, and that was just concerning because your offense just didn't deliver because of the performance from Hunter Dietz and because of the fielding. Arkansas had 2 errors in this game. Cam Kojo, Arkansas's shortstop, and then I think it was Carter Rutenbar, their first baseman. There were just issues in this game which said maybe this team isn't as good as we thought they were. And it was just frustrating. It was just a frustrating game, and so it was. It was a little bit concerning. My second big point is talking about the series as a whole and talking about the pitching. Arkansas has the starters, namely Hunter Dietz, and you can say Gabe Gackle now, I guess. He's got a couple under his belt. Maybe he's back to that role, hopefully. And then it's concerning that they still don't have a Game 3 solid guy, whether it be Colin Fisher or Tate McGuire or Cole Gibbler. Speaking of Cole Gibbler, that's who I really want to say some not nice things about right now. Because Cole Gibbler, and I'm not trying to attack this guy personally, I'm just saying this guy has struggled. This guy has struggled down the stretch for Arkansas. And he started out on a really good note. Let's look at him statistically. Cole Gibbler this is a guy who has started some games, but lately has come in relief and did in this Kentucky game, and that cost Arkansas, well, almost did in their Saturday game, but he came in relief of Tate McGuire in maybe the third inning on Saturday and gave up 7 runs. 7 runs, and maybe didn't even record an out, maybe a couple outs. Maybe he lasted a couple innings. I honestly can't remember, but he gave up 7 hits and 7 runs. And, this kid's a sophomore, and he's looked like a sophomore as of late. He started, let's kind of go with me here on how I'm breaking this down. His first 7 games, he only gave up 5 runs. That's pretty good. The 5 games after that, he gave up 11 runs. The last 3 games, he's given up 19 runs. He started out the season, his first 7 games, he gave up 5 runs, did Cole Gibbler. His last 3 games, 19 runs. Something's going on with him. And it's got to get fixed because Arkansas needs a guy like Cole Gibbler, a really good lefty that they had earlier in the season, and he's just not contributing the way he needs to right now. And there's a couple of guys like that, and so I'm not trying to call out Cole Gibbler too much, but that's a big one because we've seen and we know the potential that Cole Gibbler has, and he's just been underperforming severely these past few weeks. So he's got to get it figured out, but there's also multiple other guys at Arkansas. Their bullpen just has to be better. That's the biggest number one red flag concerning thing that Arkansas has going into the postseason. It's guys like Cole Gibbler who just can't do what they need to do. And it's their bullpen. It's Arkansas's bullpen. So they've got some starters. They've got some relievers. Ethan McElvain has been terrific. He's been one of Arkansas's best pitchers all around this season. Maybe he can go a little longer than just 2 or 3 innings. Maybe. But they just don't have a good reliever. So that's my second big thing. My third and final big point from the weekend series against Kentucky. I still do think, although I just crapped on this team a little bit, I still do think this team can make a run. And there's an asterisk of why I think this. And it's because of the offense. It's because of Arkansas's bats. Obviously, they showed it in their Game 3 win against Kentucky. They scored 16 runs, including what I've never seen before, 9 runs in the first inning before Kentucky could even get an out. Kentucky went through 3 pitchers, maybe 2 or 3 pitchers before they could even record a single out. Arkansas was great on Saturday in Game 3 against Kentucky, and the offense was popping. And lately it has been. Now, I know it wasn't on Thursday, but as of late, it's been trending in the right direction. And so that's what you want to see. You want to see the bats getting hot at the right time. So it would be really fun if Arkansas can make a run. But if they do, their bats have to come alive like they've been doing. They have to be a little bit more consistently good. And, of course, you have to have your contributors in the bullpen. You have to have Cole Gibbler step up. You have to have Tate McGuire give you better innings. You have to have Parker Coyle be consistent, Steele Eves, Cooper Dossett. Some of these other guys that maybe only get 1 inning. Who's the guy who's been injured that came in? Jacob DeCrimmer. That's a guy who can be a potential closer for you, just like Ethan McElvain, but a level lower. Maybe he can be one of those relievers. Maybe you start the guy. I don't know. At one point in this season, he was a midweek starter, I think. So maybe he's a guy who can do that. I don't know. But I still do think this team can make a run. Looking at the SEC as a whole, Arkansas won 7 of their 10 series. Is that right? 7 of their 10. Yeah. They played 10 baseball. They played 10 series. They won 7 of them. That's 70%. That's pretty good. Overall, though, they won 17 games and 13 losses because each series has 3 games. But they won, and that's a metric that really doesn't matter is winning series, but this team is still really good. And I know it's like technically 17 wins is their worst conference record since like 2017. But this team is still really good. They are. They just are. And they have the potential to be terrific. But right now they're good. So let's not get too discouraged about them. They're a good team. 17 and 13 in the SEC. They have earned the 7 seed in this upcoming week's SEC baseball tournament. And here's what head coach Dave Van Horn had to say about just how stacked the conference is this season.
Well, it's just one of those years where one team kind of ran away with it. but the rest of us, we're all within a couple games of each other for the most part. It's the league is just really strong. We jumped ahead of a couple people today that are really good. I don't know, just it's deep. You can't take anybody for granted. You got to go get your wins while you can, and I mean, you look at what we've done. We've won 5 out of the last 6, 7 series, I think. We've won 7 out of 10 series in this league, and that's hard to do. And you look at who we played, and you start adding it up. We had one of the tougher conference go, so to speak, with who we played. If you look at their overall record, so proud of this team for fighting, and a lot of new guys, in the league for the first time, and they found out how hard it is.
Yeah, so good hearing from Dave Van Horn there. That was after Saturday. Now Arkansas transitions to the postseason, and really these games in this bracket in Hoover doesn't matter that much. Now it does matter for Arkansas more than it normally would. This season it does, because if Arkansas were to go on a run, I mean, they can still possibly host a regional. I think because they went to Kentucky and they didn't sweep the Wildcats, I think it makes it harder now. I think Arkansas is still on the outside looking in of being a top 16 team to host a regional. But this gives you the opportunity. Normally these games just don't matter. Now it kind of does. It kind of does. So you see the bracket behind me. Arkansas is a 7 seed. They'll play Wednesday against either Tennessee or South Carolina. Maybe you're watching this Wednesday morning and you already know who they're going to play, but most likely should be Tennessee, which is kind of fun because Arkansas hasn't played Tennessee at all this season. Obviously, they only played half or a quarter, 3/4 of the teams in the SEC. Tennessee was not one of them. South Carolina was. That was, I think, the only time, maybe one of 2 sweeps Arkansas had in the SEC this season with South Carolina, the other being Alabama. But probably be Tennessee. So we'll see how that goes with all that. But and how this works with the whole, like with each of these brackets, and we'll talk about the OVC, the ASUN, and the SWAC brackets a little bit later in the show. It's a little complicated with a single elimination or double elimination. I can't even remember which each of them are at right now. But I think Arkansas would be part of the double elimination portion of the bracket. But I'm honestly can't remember. Either way, they'll probably play Tennessee on Wednesday. If they win that, they'll probably play Texas, or they'll definitely play Texas. And that'll be fun, too, because Arkansas hasn't played Texas this season. So those are opportunities to get quality wins to show to the committee that you're a top 16 team. So hopefully Arkansas can do that. I wonder how they'll handle pitching. I imagine they'll go Hunter Dietz on Wednesday against Tennessee, and then Gabe Gackle against Texas. None of it matters if your bats just, if you score 16 runs like they did against Kentucky. That'd be nice. Or what was it? How many did they score? They scored 12 or something against, Oklahoma in Game 3. That was only a week ago, Nick. Come on. Anyway, this is the SEC bracket. That's what it looks like. So we'll see if Arkansas can make a run there. All right, let's talk about softball. Arkansas softball. Man, what a regional for the softball Hogs. You see the green behind me? That is 3 wins. It's the first time in program history that they have won every single game of a regional in run rule fashion. All of these only went to 6 innings. Softball goes to 7 innings. Friday, 8-0 over Fordham. Saturday, 9-1 against South Florida. Then Sunday came back 10-2 against South Florida, also in 6 innings. They outscored their opponents 27-3. And that's impressive. I've talked about it every show how impressive this team is, and they just keep getting better and better, and they just have a complete team. They have a complete team that should make it to Oklahoma City, and now they're just 2 wins away from doing that. So it's really impressive, and they showed it this weekend. That they're one of the best teams, if not the best team in the country. They're the number 5 overall seed, and they showed it this weekend in Fayetteville. The cool thing is they did it all. I'm not going to say without, but with a minimal pitching performance from their ace. Normally, in softball, your ace can pitch however many she wants. Robin Herron only pitched 4 of Arkansas's 18 innings that they played. Only 4 of them, and she was good, but Arkansas had other pitchers step up, Peyton Burnham and Saylor Timmerman. They've got those 3 pitchers are good for Arkansas. A couple things make them really dangerous to make a run. to make it to Oklahoma City, to go further, to make it to the national championship, to win the whole thing. It's because of those three, that they don't just have one ace who's going to carry them. They've got multiple options. So if Heron's having an off day, hopefully Sailor Timmerman's not, and vice versa. That, they're pitching. When we talk about these things, pitching, fielding, hitting. Fielding is absurdly amazing. And then hitting, they're just deep. It's 1 through 9. They've got girls who can do it all. They really do. It's not just their 1 and 2 hole of their lineup. They've got multiple softball players that can make an impact on that lineup. So that was shown this weekend, and hopefully that continues to be shown. Reagan Johnson had a great weekend. Talk about the 1 and 2 hole. I mean, there's others that are good. But first and second in the lineup, Reagan Johnson was 5 for 11. Brynlee Bain, the freshman, was even better, 5 for 7, 5 hits, 7 at-bats. She got walked 5 times, so she's dangerous, and people know that she's dangerous. Dakota Kennedy in Arkansas's 3 games, she walked off 2 of them. Their first game against Fordham and their last game to send them to the Super Regionals against USF. So it's great. Arkansas is on to the Super Regionals, back-to-back seasons. For the first time in a couple of years. So it's good for them. It's good for Arkansas. It's positive. It's positive for the Razorbacks as they're headed to the Super Regionals. Now we'll hear from Courtney Deifel what she had to say after the win on Sunday.
I'm really proud of our team for playing themselves into this position. The schedule we put together, the how they battled through that schedule all year, and then just take care of business this weekend. And they moved through the weekend like that's the expectation, and that's when you look and they're like, yeah, they're elite with what they do, is they showed up, and that was the expectation with everything that they did. And so it's awesome to get another weekend in Bogle. Our fans are incredible. They showed up for us all 3 days, even with the weather on Friday night. And so to get another opportunity to play in front of them is really cool.
Yeah, Coach Deifel said it there. The Razorbacks, of course, on to the Super Regionals now, and they'll get the team that many people thought that they would get, the number 12 overall seed, the Duke Blue Devils. As of this recording of Luttie's Look Back, we don't know what time it is. We don't know what day it is. We don't even know what it's going to be televised on. But we'll probably know in the coming days, so stick right here on THV 11+, and we will let you know. The Razorbacks and the Blue Devils. I love this matchup because of basketball, of course, the 94 rematch, but this could have been Arizona. Arizona actually beat Duke originally, and then Duke had to beat them 2 times on Sunday for the Blue Devils to advance to this game. So we'll see what happens with that one. That is Luttie's look ahead for this upcoming weekend. It should be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but I'm not exactly sure right now. Let's look at some other baseball scores from the weekend. We'll show you Little Rock, UCA, A-State, and UAPB. This is the last series of the season, of the regular season for all 4 of these teams. Only one of them will not be playing at all the rest of the season. That's Arkansas State. But you want to see more green than red? This is probably the worst weekend we've had for our baseball team since I started doing this. That's a lot of red. Let's start left to right. We'll start with Little Rock. The Trojans finish at 30-25 overall. They get swept by SEMO, but much better than they were a season ago if we're just looking at it from overall conference record and the standings. Little Rock, 16 wins. That is 8 more wins than they had from a season ago. UCA, they had a chance to win their division but couldn't get the job done against Lipscomb. They win the first game, but then kind of get blown out in the second game and then lose the third one 7-4. They also finished 30-25 overall. Again, this is just regular season, and 17-13 in the conference. That is 5 more wins in conference play than they had a season ago. So improvement for Little Rock, UCA, and we come to A-State. The Red Wolves 29-24 overall. They finished 12-18, and that will be their final record on both of those scores because their season is over. They won the first game against South Alabama, then lost the next 2 to lose the series and to also lose their shot at continuing their season. Not all the teams in the Sun Belt make it to the Sun Belt baseball tournament, and Arkansas State got bounced out. I mean, this was a team that earlier in the year took down Southern Miss, one of the best teams in their conference, if not the best team, and now Arkansas State doesn't even make their conference tournament. So disappointing for them. They have 2 less wins than they did a season ago in conference. And then finally, UAPB 16-14. They have 1 less win than they did from a season ago, but still a great season for them on the up and up in some ways. UAPB getting the win over Jackson State this past weekend in game 1, but then losing the next 2. They finished 23-32 overall, 16-14 in their conference, and we'll check on them a little bit later to talk about their bracket. But first, we'll talk about the Ohio Valley Conference bracket, and you see it here. It's bracket breakdown time. Normally do this when it comes to basketball. It's actually my first time doing it with baseball. Now, I'm not an expert enough to know and going to fill out every single thing. Plus, also, as I mentioned earlier, it gets a little complicated because of the double elimination and all those things. But this is my best bet about what the bracket is, and kind of I'll go through my predictions a little bit. The Trojans are the 4 seed. They'll play Wednesday at 7 o'clock. They'll either play Morehead State or Southern Indiana. Trojans beat Morehead State earlier this season, about 6 weeks ago. They actually swept them. So if it's Morehead State, you like Little Rock's chances there. If it's Southern Indiana, let's see. Southern Indiana, they lost the series. That was the second series of the season for Little Rock. Remember, the Trojans started out 2-6. 2-6? Yeah, 2-6 in conference play this season, but they've rebounded. They had a chance to win the OVC, but again, getting swept this weekend was a tough look for them. But either way, Morehead State or Southern Indiana, I like Little Rock's chances in game 1, and then facing off against SIUE. That was a team that swept the Trojans a few weeks ago. So we'll see what happens there with the Trojans. And if they were to face Eastern Illinois, they only played them once this season. They did lose that 1 game. So we'll see what happens with Little Rock. Remember, last year they were the number 8 seed. They were the last team to make it into the OVC baseball tournament, and they made their way all the way to the championship and won it all. And then they went to the NCAA tournament, and it was awesome. Now they're a 4 seed. They're much more set up for success. So if they can just get hot at the right time, just like they did last season about this time, they're going to be on their way to another NCAA tournament. But it's all about playing it good at the right time, so hopefully Little Rock can do that, can maybe upset a couple teams and make it again to the NCAA tournament. So that is Little Rock in the Ohio Valley Conference baseball tournament coming up this week. Let's go to the Atlantic Sun. UCA will be the 6th seed. They'll be the 6th seed. They'll play Tuesday at 6 o'clock against Stetson. Bears and the Hatters haven't played at all this season, so we'll see how that goes for UCA. Again, gets a little complicated with the single elimination. And this helps here. 2 games, single elimination, okay, so they got to win. They got to win Tuesday and Wednesday or they're out. Once they get to Thursday, it turns into double elimination pretty much all the way through. So should UCA win as a 6th seed against the 8th seed? They should. Again, and then facing off against Florida Gulf Coast. The thing with Stetson, just doing a little bit of research on them. They're great at pitching, so expect this to be maybe a low-scoring game, but they're horrible at hitting. So if UCA can get past them, that'd be good. And they face off against Florida Gulf Coast, a team that's kind of the opposite. Not amazing at pitching, but historically great at hitting. They're the number 1 offensive team in the ASUN this season. So UCA will have to be ready for a good team in Florida Gulf Coast. That is the 3 seed. Should UCA win that, then it would turn into the double elimination. Have to face off against Lipscomb, a team that they're 500 against this season. UCA's beat them 3 times, but also lost against them 3 times. But either way, UCA's had a tremendous season and certainly improving from where they were a season ago. So that is the Atlantic Sun bracket. And then finally, we move on to the SWAC bracket. This one, not quite as graphically pleasing as some of the others. If you could zoom in here and look on your phone or your computer, whatever you're looking at this at, the seeding is technically incorrect, so I do apologize for that error on my part in the graphic. UAPB will be the 10 seed. They'll have to face off against Bethune-Cookman, the number 1 seed. So the good news for all this, I think all of it's double elimination. So if UAPB loses this first game, which will be Wednesday at 6 o'clock, they'll play again, let's see, the next day at noon against probably Grambling State or Alabama State. We'll see what happens in that game. But a tough draw for UCA, getting the 10 seed, having to face off against the 1 seed. This is, when I talked about brackets being a little complicated, it's nice that it's all double elimination, but I don't really get why it's bracket A and bracket B. I could probably do more research to let you know about it, but I didn't. I just threw it up here, and now I'm predicting it. But UAPB, we'll see how far they're able to make it in their bracket of the SWAC. maybe they can go on a run just like UCA could and just like Little Rock did last season. So those are the look at our 3 other Division I teams besides Arkansas, besides the Red Wolves, who did not make their conference tournament. So that's enough college baseball talk. Let's move on to looking ahead to this weekend. What does it look like for Arkansas state championships? First off, in the baseball world, we got a lot of teams that you guys are probably interested in that are facing off against each other. This upcoming weekend in Hot Springs, you see the view here on baseball, the state championships in Hot Springs, the 2A through 6A, all those games happening there. Now let's move on to softball, who are teams that you can watch on Arkansas TV. And of course, you'll have the highlights on THV11 as well. A lot of fun ones there, including Benton and Farmington in the 5A finals. You got Harding, you got Warren. Scranton and Taylor will be a fun one in the 1A. We won't forget about you. Small towns, Arkansas, Scranton, and Taylor facing off against each other. That is softball. Now soccer. We'll start with girls soccer before going on to boys soccer. A fun one. I'm expecting to be fun at least. I watched Mount St. Mary's this weekend. They were a fun team to watch. So hopefully the Bells can take down Bentonville West and get the win. Mount St. Mary's, they've probably been one of the better teams in their conference, in their division, in the state this season in girls soccer. And then in the 3A, you've got Lifeway and Maumelle Charter. 4A, Robinson taking on Brooklyn. And then the 5A, Russellville and Searcy. And then finally in the boys soccer, I think there's only one team that probably our viewers care about if you're in our Central Arkansas viewing area, and that is Episcopal. Episcopal Collegiate hasn't won a state title, or has never won back-to-back state titles. Last year was their first time to ever win a boys state title. This year they're trying to go for back-to-back. You can go to thv11.com/sports and you can watch the story I had the chance to do on them this past week. So a lot of fun there, and it should be a lot of fun in Hot Springs with a lot of state championship action. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Luttie's Look Back. Man, we talked a lot. We talked a lot of college baseball, and it's going to keep heating up. Next week, we will review. We will recap. We will tell you everything that went wrong and right for all of our teams in those conference tournaments, and maybe touch on some of those state championship games as well, depending on how they go down in Hot Springs. So thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you guys same time, same place next week.